Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. My name as always is Jamie Hughes and today I'm going to be giving you my review of Black Panther. Now if you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always with my videos, this review may include spoilers, so you have now been warned. Black Panther is one of the finest superhero stories I have ever seen. I was so engrossed and hooked by this movie from the word go, basically. And what I really loved the most about this movie is that, yes, I know it's based on a comic book, but they just got the basics right. They got just everything right from the word go. It had a really interesting story, a really intriguing plot, really in-depth and interesting and layered characters, and for the first half of this movie, they just lay down the foundations, then it just continues to get better and better and better, and they just start adding all of this depth and intelligence all throughout this story until obviously we reach the film's climax. It was just so well done, and as I say, I applaud Ryan Coogler and his team at Marvel for crafting such an intelligent and interesting and captivating story. And that is, like, I was going to save this little section for the end, but I may as well talk about it now because it kind of fits into this point, is that, like, I'm not the biggest fan of comic book movies. I'm not the biggest fan of superhero movies. I don't think I've seen anything from the MCU kind of past Iron Man 3. I just felt like a lot of stuff just felt a little bit repetitive and a little bit samey, but you don't get that with Black Panther. It was just so interesting, and I say so different from the word go, and it has really ignited my interest and my passion once again to now go back and watch all of these Marvel movies to get me excited for Infinity War. Black Panther also has one of the best ensemble casts, I think, in movie history. So many well-known and just legendary actors just plying their trade to this movie just to be a part of it, which just shows how important this movie truly was. But I have to give my shout outs to all my favourites, like everybody else. Chadwick Boseman is fantastic as T'Challa and Black Panther. Never have I been so captivated by a man who has just done so little. Like, there's so many scenes in this movie where he's not really doing much, but he's just so charismatic and enigmatic that you're just drawn to him, and I was drawn to him in every scene he was in. He carried this movie, and he carried the weight of this movie, I think, and he absolutely nailed it. He absorbed all of that energy and just let it all out, and that was a sick Black Panther reference there. Denai Gunara had a really good performance in this movie. I think she was one of my favourite characters. She played like T'Challa's personal bodyguard, and she was just awesome. She was like, it was just so awesome to see her kicking ass. I know she does it in The Walking Dead, but I think for her to do it on a bigger platform like this is just brilliant for her. She had a really interesting character, and again, I'm really interested to see with how she carries this character forward and what her character involvement is going to be later on in the MCU. Lupita Nyong'o was brilliant, Forrest Whitaker, Angela Bassett, Andy Serkis, Martin Freeman, everybody just delivered in this movie. I do think Martin Freeman's American accent did kind of, I think it took me by surprise more than anything, but again, all of those big actors just having really, a few having minor roles, a few more prominent, but just giving great performances again in this movie. There are a couple that I've missed out, and I do want to talk about them now because they were the MVPs for me in this movie. And first up, it's Letitia White as Shuri. Now, Shuri is the sister of T'Challa. She is the princess of Wakanda. She's kind of the brains of the operation, if you will. And she had such an important role in this movie, I think without really knowing it, because for a lot of this movie, she is kind of the glue that holds everything together. And this is another huge positive, but more importantly about these next two characters that I'm talking about, especially Shuri, is that so many of these characters in Black Panther had so much depth and was so layered in their kind of characteristics, their performance and everything. It's something I've not seen in superhero movies before, but like for every character had to have a different layer to it. It was brilliant, and she had the best scene without a doubt in this movie. Now, I know a lot of people are kind of criticize Marvel for using a lot of humor in their movies. I don't think Black Panther does that to the extreme extent. It does have humor in it, but it's done in the right way and it didn't feel forced. And yeah, she had one of the best scenes in this movie. It's when she's kind of showing T'Challa around the lab, a little bit like James Bond, and she goes to show him these new boots, and he's got these sandals on, and she just goes, "What are those?" And it was brilliant. It was really, really funny. It had me laughing for ages. But then on the flip side of that, towards the latter part of the movie, she definitely has a lot of emotional scenes, and that's what I mean by she held this story together very, very well. She blended between scenes effortlessly, and she was brilliant. She would have been my favourite performance of the movie if it wasn't for a certain Michael B. Jordan, who was brilliant as Erik Killmonger. Again, something I've never really felt in a Marvel movie or in a superhero movie at all, is that I felt empathy towards the villain, and that shouldn't be happening. And I think they did that so well. And again, one of my favourite things about this movie was Michael B. Jordan and Erik Killmonger, because again, like, to talk about the negatives of Marvel, one of the things I felt and why I kind of switched off from Marvel movies is I felt they were very kind of copy and paste. The villains were very one-dimensional. It would always end with some ludicrous sky battle with a big blue beam, and it just felt like I was watching the same movie on repeat. But not with Killmonger and not with Black Panther, because as I said, I empathised with Killmonger. I got why he had his motives. You had this backstory where he is emotionally and just in every way connected to Wakanda. He's connected to T'Challa. There was a real organic story there, and they used that really well to drive Killmonger's story arc forward. Loads of emotional scenes with him as well, which again made you feel for him more. And it was brilliant, and it was so refreshing once again to see a villain that had so many layers. That the only negative I really have about this is that I really wanted to see more Killmonger. So this is not a negative of any way, this is just how I felt. We also had Andy Serkis in this movie, who played Claw. He felt very disposable, and he felt like a very secondary villain, and I know that was the purpose of him. I know he was only there really to kind of set up that T'Challa and Killmonger story, but I think you could have told that story without Andy Serkis. It did feel a little bit of a waste that he did start off this really untouchable, despicable guy, and then by the end of his story, he was just really, really disposable. And I really would have liked to have seen them either just not use him or keep him through this story a little bit longer and have his character develop, because as much as they did that with a lot of other characters, it did feel like his was stunted within a sense. But having that also, it would have meant that we would have had more Michael B. Jordan if he wasn't in this movie, which is a positive because he was absolutely brilliant. And I don't really have anything else other to say. Like, never get negative about this movie. It's just all positive. It's nothing but love for Black Panther. It was brilliant, and I'm really happy that I'm invested in Marvel movies again and superhero movies. I can't wait to go back and now rewatch them to get excited about Infinity War. And I think that is just something really special. Like, for me, that Black Panther got me invested in this overall Marvel story once again, and just how important and special and groundbreaking this movie is in so many ways. And just for it to be so different to what's out there at the minute but still feel very similar is a huge, huge positive. And yeah, I loved it, and I really would love to hear your guys' thoughts on Black Panther. Let me know what you thought about it, as always, down in those comments below. And if you did enjoy this video and you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the very next episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. Ta-ra. Wakanda forever!